Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. This week we're going deep on something that's really important for anyone out there, getting ready for those big government exams, like RBI, SEBI, NABARD, even the UPSC. We're talking about India's research scene and a pretty big development that just happened. It's called the One Nation, One Subscription Plan, ONOS for short. Oh, before we get too far into it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ding that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future deep dives. So this ONOS plan, it was just approved by the Union Cabinet, and the Hindu had a big piece on it on November 30th. Basically, it's trying to tackle this huge problem, the crazy cost of research journals. I mean, anyone who's serious about studying knows how expensive those subscriptions can be.
Right.
Can you break down how ONOS is actually supposed to work?
Yeah, sure. So think about it this way. You're a researcher at a publicly funded institution in India, right? You need to be on top of the latest research. But those top journals, they can cost thousands of dollars each to subscribe to. That's where ONOS comes in. The government is going to negotiate a single fee with all the big publishers, and that'll give researchers at these institutions access to a ton of journals, almost like a nationwide library card just for research.
Okay, so it's like a giant library card. That sounds like a pretty big win for researchers, especially at institutions that might not have a ton of money to throw around. The Hindu even said it could be a game changer for leveling the playing field in Indian research.
Yeah.
But there have to be some downsides, right?
Well, of course, nothing's perfect. One of the biggest concerns right off the bat is that ONOS only covers publicly funded institutions. Private institutions, they're completely left out in the cold.
So what happened to them?
It creates this two-tiered system, Researchers at private universities or institutes, they might end up at a real disadvantage.
That's a good point.
What do you think about that? I mean, it seems like it could really impact research equity within India.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. And then there's always the money issue.
Oh, yeah, always.
The government has put aside a whopping 6,000 crore for ONOS over the next 3 years. That's a serious chunk of change.
It is.
Makes you wonder, is this really how that money should be spent? Especially when overall research spending in India, as a percentage of GDP, hasn't really gone up.
Right, and that's a great point. And it leads into another criticism that the Hindu brought up, some experts are saying, that ONOS is just throwing money at the problem instead of fixing the root cause.
What do you mean?
Well, the root cause is that academic publishing. It's a for-profit industry.
So ONOS doesn't really change that.
Exactly.
So if ONOS isn't perfect, what are some of the other ways we could make research more accessible?
Well, there are a couple of other approaches out there. One is called green open access.
Green open access.
Yeah, and basically, researchers publish in those traditional journals, but they also make their work freely available online through these things called repositories.
Interesting.
Then there's Diamond Open Access
Diamond.
with Diamond. The journals themselves are completely free, both to read and to publish in. They're often funded by universities or scholarly societies.
So both sound pretty good, but are they realistic in India? Could the government have gone with those instead of ONOS?
Oh, for sure. They definitely could have explored those options. And, they even could have thought about supporting homegrown journals that are specifically for Indian research.
That's a good point.
It does make you wonder, did they miss a chance to really shake things up and make India a leader in open access, especially in the developing world?
It's interesting to think about ONOS in the context of how research publishing is changing. I mean, everything is changing so fast. We've got gold open access now, where researchers pay a fee to make their work free for everyone. And then there are preprints, where researchers share early versions of their work online, even before the formal peer review process.
That's right.
It makes you wonder, is ONOS trying to solve yesterday's problem? Is it even future-proof?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the Hindu pointed out something else. This whole ONOS plan, it seems to be a bit of a black box.
What do you mean?
Well, there hasn't been much consultation with the research institutions themselves about what they actually need.
So they're just kind of guessing.
It seems that way.
So ONOS, it's trying to democratize access to research in India, which is a great goal. But
Yeah.
there are some real concerns about how it's all going to work out.
Right. Like you said, the scope, the cost, and whether it might actually make those inequalities in the system even worse.
How complicated?
It really is. It shows just how tricky it is to balance access affordability and the future of knowledge itself.
Wow. That's a lot to think about. It really makes you wonder, what's the best way to manage access to research? And what role should governments play in all of this? We want to hear what you think, so share your thoughts with us on social media. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive